Hello everybody, welcome back to Steve's Gear, and today we're going to do some of my most commonly used gear in 2025. Now this is one of the videos I really like to make because it kind of lets me think about some of the stuff that I maybe used more than others throughout the year. I will admit that it gets more difficult as the years go on. If you're someone like me, or if you're watching this video, you probably are, and you like to pick up, new knives or new flashlights or new bags or pouches or whatever throughout the year, you find yourself using some of that stuff more often, more rotation through your stuff, or you use the new stuff first and kind of set the old stuff aside. And I was fortunate enough to have quite a few things sent into the channel to take a look at this year. So that also made it a little bit more difficult because you find yourself testing it out for a couple days or a week or 2 weeks or whatever it needs. So some of the basic stuff that I use has kind of changed, or I don't use it all the time. I know if I would have made this video 4 or 5 years ago, it would have been very simple because I only owned like 2 or 3 knives and 2 or 3 flashlights. So it would have been very easy to make. But as time moved on, stuff's kind of expanded. But this is some of the stuff that I find myself, kind of gravitating towards, whether it's for home or work. And yeah, could be a very different list in 2026. And I've received some pretty cool stuff right here at the end of 2025. So it'll be interesting to see how it changes next year. But let's get into it. I'm going to break this video up into a couple different sections. It's going to be bags and pouches, and then I'll do flashlights, and then I'll do knives, and then I'll do a miscellaneous. So if you don't like one spot, just move ahead to the next one. Maybe you like that one better. I'll try my best not to ramble on and make this video 7 hours long. I'll give you guys kind of a brief look at the item, tell you a few things I like about it, and then I'll try to link everything in the description below as well. So let's get started. First is going to be bags. So as far as a backpack goes, this is the same one from 2024. This is the Fjallraven Raven 20-liter backpack, and I really like this backpack. While admittedly I don't use backpacks all the time, if I'm going to go on a trip or I'm going to some overnight work for, at work or anything like that, this is always the one I grab. The main thing for me is this one's just comfortable. I'm a bigger dude. I could use to lose a few pounds, but this backpack fits good. I think if you have a backpack that fits good, that's half the battle. But this one's also very well constructed. It's very durable. You can wax this one for maximum weather resistance, which I have done. And, I took this at the very end of last year. I took it on a trip for almost 2 weeks in Colombia. Works great. It was a great backpack, and I've used it countless times just for some overnight trips here this year. So really enjoy this Fjallraven backpack. I have a video on it. If you want to check it out, feel free. But yeah, great one. Now the next one is going to be a sling bag. Now this is also the same sling bag that I chose last year in my video, and this is the nutsack sling bag here. Now I only own like 2 sling bags, so there's not a whole lot of difference in them, but I love this stuff. I love this one. This was my fishing, my hiking, my going out and driving around some trails bag. It's not too big, so I can't stuff too much into it and make it too heavy. They do sell a little bit, an XL version, I believe, nowadays. But I really like this one. This is what I carry, a fixed blade in, or maybe an extra flashlight, or a spare fishing reel, or maybe a snack, or something like that. This is the stuff that I carry in here. And it's comfortable. That's the other big thing about this one, is I feel like Nutsack designed this one pretty well. And like I said, for a big dude like myself, it fits good. It's comfortable for me to carry, which makes me want to carry it more. And yeah, it's just a great option. It's a little bit expensive, I will admit that, but this is something that's probably going to last me the rest of my life. I don't see myself buying another sling bag. I'm just going to continue to use this one until, it wears out to nothing, which I don't think will ever happen. These are very heavy-duty wax canvas. They're made here in America. And they're made to last. You pay a little bit more, but I think you get what you pay for. All right, so that's kind of my 2 bags that I would probably use the most. Now let's move on to some pouches. The pouches are kind of difficult because I've got some really good pouches in the last month or so. And you may see those in 2026, but for 2025, one of them was the Nutsack Double Admit. Now, I actually used this one a lot in 2024 as well. Now, this is kind of just a seat queen. It sits on my work truck on the passenger seat, so it looks almost still like brand new. It doesn't get a lot of heavy, outdoor use or anything like that, but it does what it needs to do. It's just basically my admin pouch. I keep a lot of the same stuff in all the time. It's just pens, pencils, some Tums, ibuprofen, an extra flashlight with a lantern, a headlamp attachment, a little first aid kit. I keep just some basic stuff. I got a couple little tools in there, but I don't really use too many of the tools just because I have a work truck with tools in the back. But this is just nice because I can bring it in the house after work if I need to and throw some new stuff in it or take something out, change out the pencils or pens or put more ibuprofen or whatever in it. And it's great. I like the aesthetics of it. I don't want to replace this one just because I like it so much. So I think it's a great pouch. You know, depending on how you use it, you know, it's same thing. It would last a very long time. It's heavy duty waxed canvas. Just a great pouch. All right. So the next one is a pouch I actually received this year. Now this is from Roaring Fire. They sent this one out to me, and I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to use it for, but I like Toyota pickups, and I picked up an old Toyota pickup this year, and you know, it has kind of a small center console, and this one fits perfect. So this has been kind of my, you know, old Toyota pickup, pouch. Now it's kind of the same materials. You do get that waxed canvas. You know, it's very heavy duty feeling, a little bit softer feeling, I would say, than the nutsack ones. And, you know, obviously it's less in price, which is good, but it's still built pretty well. And this, I just keep some basic stuff in here, just some miscellaneous stuff. Now, there is a flashlight I normally keep in here, but it's going to be in the flashlight section. I'll show you that in a little bit. But yeah, just some pens and, you know, multi-tools, little things like that. You got a little notebook back here, some Band-Aids and miscellaneous stuff in there. I got my finger caught in there. There we go. But yeah, it's just perfect for that. So I think this is a pretty cool pouch option. If you're looking for something, I never really heard of Roaring Fire until they sent this pouch out, but I think pretty good stuff. I've been really happy with this pouch. So it's a good option. All right, so that kind of gets the bags and pouches out of the way. Let's talk about some flashlights. Now, flashlights are a really hard one for me to narrow down some stuff just because of the volume of them that came in this year. But these are some of the ones I found myself using the most. Now, one of them is missing in the video is the Olight Arc Flex. Now, I use that flashlight for the majority of the year. Unfortunately, I lost it. I lost it about 4 months ago. I'm not exactly sure where. I was working in a building at some point, and I moved on a couple buildings, and I can't remember which building I left it in. I think it's in a ceiling, probably magnetized to somewhere. So somebody will eventually find it and have themselves a nice little flashlight. But I really like that one. But the good thing is, about that time, Olight sent me out this Arc Pro. Now, I got this months before it released because it was actually going on, a hold before it got released. And, it's worked really good. Now, the Arc Flex, I do kind of miss the articulating head on it, but this is pretty powerful. I wasn't a huge fan of the original Arc Feld series, but this one has a dedicated spot and flood mode, which I found pretty beneficial for work. The big thing is they added USB-C to this. I got kind of tired of bringing the extra cables with me for the proprietary charger while I was trying to charge them driving around in the truck. But USB-C is so easy. I can use my phone. I got a nice long phone cable in there and just plug it in, charge it up along the way if I need. Now, I did get this holster. I got this holster after I did the video for it. It's worked really good. I've been using it for, a week or two. And yeah, I really like it. So good holster for it too. Now, the next one is another one that's been in several of my videos is the Sofirn SC32. Now, unfortunately, I don't think this one's still available. At least I looked for it on Amazon a while back and I didn't see it. I don't know if it's available on their website, but if I can find it, I'll link it. But this is my beater one. Now, this is one of the first couple flashlights I picked up when I started getting into good flashlights. And this one's been through dirt, snow, wind, rain, everything you can think about. It's been dropped more times than I can count, and it just keeps going. And so if I'm going to be doing something that's going to be kind of a nasty job, or I know I'm going to get really dirty, I got this one because I know it's going to make it through it, and it works good. And there's no magnetic stuff on it too, which is one thing I like about this one. But yeah, great little flashlight. Now the next one's another one that Sofirn sent out to me this year. This is the IF23 Pro, and this is actually the light that I keep in that Roaring Fire pouch. Now, when I got this light, I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to use for it, but I thought it'd make a good vehicle light, and that's what it's been. Those old Toyota pickups, sometimes they need a little bit of love. They're pretty reliable, but sometimes you got to chase down a squeak or replace a part or repair something. So this is the one that's always been working with me. This side light here on it is incredibly bright. It's got a very powerful magnet, so it holds itself very well. The main light is super bright also. So if I do take this truck out, hit some trails or something, I don't need to bring an extra flashlight. This is bright enough to light up a good chunk of the woods when you're out there. So it's got a big battery. I've really enjoyed it. I've got it greasy, dirty, sprayed it off with carb cleaner and stuff, and it looks good. So yeah, really enjoyed this one as well. Now for kind of around the house, that's when I kind of grab a bunch of different flashlights, whatever I'm kind of taking a look at the moment. But these two stand out quite a bit. One of them is one I picked up this year, the Phoenix E12. And this is just a single AA battery flashlight, and I use some rechargeable batteries in it. It's got a magnetic tail switch back here, just low, medium, and high. Decent brightness for the size, and it's just easy to carry. I like this flashlight. If I'm looking in a closet back in the back, or I got to stare down a drain pipe or something, this is just a great flashlight to use. So it's a good one. If you're looking for a small one, I recommend this one. Now, another one is the Olight i5R series. Now, I don't know. I thought that I heard Olight discontinued the i5R. Don't quote me on that, but I know they still have the i3T, which is kind of like the AAA version, but I've always been a huge fan of these i5Rs. Now, this is the first Olight that I ever got, and it's been used quite a bit. It's got dings and dents and stuff all over it. The clip, I need to replace the clip. It doesn't have a lot of give to it anymore. But these are just low and high flashlights. Very easy to use with the tail cap. They got a rechargeable battery inside. You take the battery out, plug it in USB-C, and charge them up. And I still find myself using this one all the time. Even with all the modern flashlights, sometimes these old basic ones are some of my favorites. All right, so that's some of the flashlights I use the most. All right, let's move on to knives. Knives is another very difficult category for me because I do like to rotate through knives. But these are just some that have stood out a little bit more this year than some of the other ones. Now, knives are one of the few things that I did buy this year. I picked up maybe one flashlight on my own this year. The rest of them were sent to me. I didn't really pick up many bags or pouches either. Most of them were just sent to me, but knives are something that I continue to pick up. And when I get a new one, a lot of times I use that one for a while, but these ones I come back to fairly often. So the first one is a Spyderco Native 5 Lightweight. Now, this was in my video last year as well. It's a phenomenal knife. I really, really like the Native 5 Lightweight. It just fits my hand really well. If I'm working, I love the texture on these scales here. And I like the back lock. At first I didn't know if I was going to like the back lock, but honestly, the back lock for me has worked really good. I have the PM2, I have the PM3, I got the Manix 2, and this is probably one of my favorite Spydercos. The compression lock I do like. And being left-handed, I have a little bit harder of a time using it. I think they make left-handed versions, but I never got to try one yet. But this back lock, especially if I'm wearing gloves and it's getting to be kind of cold this time of year, this is a great one I grab. It's very easy to manipulate. And yeah, I think if you're looking for a good work knife, I think this Spyderco Native 5 is a phenomenal option. So yeah, just wanted to take a look at. Now the next one kind of surprised me quite a bit is the Vosteed Porcupine. Vosteed sent this one in to me to take a look at, which I appreciate. When I first got it, I thought it was going to be a fairly decent little budget-ish type knife. But I actually found myself using this all the time. This is the one I carry for work probably 90% of the time these days. I would say 5% between this one and this one. But something about this one, I'm not afraid to put some use in on it. I probably do some things with it I shouldn't. And it just holds up. This top liner lock, I haven't had any problems with disengaging. Like I said, the ergonomics are good. It's got a nice, slicey-ish type blade. I need to sharpen it up, but I took it apart a few times and cleaned it. It gets full of lint and dust and dirt and stuff. But, it's still centered up. Lockup's still tight on it. Like, it's a good knife. I think if you're looking for something that's not super expensive, I think this Vosteed Porcupine's a great option. The scales have darkened up quite a bit. They sent this one to me. It probably wouldn't have been my first color choice, but I like it. It's kind of dark. You can kind of see some spots where it's still a little bit lighter underneath the pocket clip, but yeah, I think it's kind of looking good with a little patina on it, so they're a good one. Now, this one is the Vosteed, or sorry, not Vosteed, the Civivi Yonder. And honestly, I picked this one up just because of Zach. I was a big fan of Zach in the wild, his YouTube channel. I've always liked content he's been making, and I bought this knife pretty much just to support him. But I found it, I really actually liked it. I only have two Civivis. I own this one and one other one. And this one's just great. I like the ergonomics on it. It fits my hand very well. It's smaller and compact. This is a great one I was using quite a bit in the summer when I was wearing shorts and stuff. I like the blade shape. It's pretty slicey. The crossbar lock, some people like them, some people don't. For me, being left-handed, the crossbar lock's always a solid choice. So I like the fact I can use it either hand. He made it so you can reverse the pocket clip. And yeah, this one really surprised me. I found myself picking this one up a lot, over some other knives. So kudos to Zach for a good knife. Now, the next one was also in my 2024 video, which continues to surprise me, is the Benchmade Shootout. I'm not a huge fan of OTF knives. Matter of fact, I sold the other one that I have, and I kept this one. But I find myself gravitating towards this sometimes, and I don't know what it is. Some people, I think, don't like the plastic scales, and that's kind of what draws me to it. They got some good grip. And I'm not afraid to drop it. I'm not afraid to roll around the dirt to get it dirty. It's just great. It's got a good true wear blade steel, stays sharp a pretty long time. Well, I don't abuse this one. I do find myself using it quite a bit. Now, the last one is the Chris Reeves Small Sabenza. Now, for me personally, Chris Reeves are some of my favorite knives. I just like them aesthetically, and I've always, I wanted one for a long time, and thankfully I was able to pick this one up, and I do have a full-size one as well. But this small one I actually use quite a bit. And it's not something that admittedly, I don't beat the crap out of this one. Like, this is one that I carry around the house. I take when I'm going out shopping or I'm going out to dinner or something. I like to carry this one. I don't use it on anything super aggressive, tape, boxes, clamshell packaging, stuff like that. But, I haven't took it outside and used it in the garden or anything. But, it's just great. I really, really enjoy using this. And they are quite a bit of money. And I will admit that, it's hard to spend that amount of money on them. But here's the thing. When I pull this out of my pocket, I still get the same excited feeling that I had when I first bought it. So that, for me, lets me know that it was a good purchase. All right, let's get into fixed blades here real quick. Fixed blades will be very easy. There's only 3 of them. I only went camping once this year. I did go fishing quite a bit and stuff like that, but I don't always need a fixed blade. A lot of times a folder will work fine. But the few times I went out and cooked in the morning and stuff like that, sometimes I go out and go fishing, I'll make myself breakfast and stuff. White River Firecraft 3.5 inch is a great knife. It's one of my favorite fixed blades that I own. It doesn't look like it'd be super ergonomic, but it is very ergonomic. Fits my hand really well. You can get a ton of force behind this thing, some push cuts. I use it for chopping up some little vegetables and stuff. I use it for a little bit of wood batoning too. I use that Firebox Nano stoves. So if you're familiar with the Nano, you know that batoning wood for that is very small. It's like 3 inches by 3 inch pieces. They're very small to break up, but this works great for that. So I really like it. I did get some cool fixed blades from like Olden Wolf and stuff this year, and I brought those out a couple times, but I use that the most. Now, this is the one knife, the one thing on this video that I didn't make a video for. This one kind of fell underneath the radar. I bought this one the very beginning of summertime and just forgot to make a video on it. But this is the Victorinox Venture, and this is actually the one I brought with me on the camping trip this year. And it had minimal tasks. It did food prep, a few little camp tasks. But if you're looking for just a basic camp knife and you don't need like a hardcore, bushcraft knife, I think this Victorinox is a really good option. It's 14C28N. It came razor sharp out of the box. It's got a nice, comfortable grip. It's kind of tapered in a little bit here for a little easy pinch grip on it. It's got a little bit of jumping here in the top if you want to do some draw cuts or whatever with it. It's just an overall good, I think, kind of camp knife. And that's what I bought it for. I was going to buy it out and kind of test it out that way. I think I picked it up on a sale where I was able to save, $10-15 off normal price. And so it was worth picking up. I kind of like this sheath. Works pretty good. So maybe I'll make a video on this maybe this summer if I do take this one out camping again. A little more in-depth video, but it's a pretty good option. Now the last one is from my buddy over at Aries EDC. And, a couple years ago, I picked this up from him. He was kind of starting his YouTube channel. He makes knives. If you want to check him out, it's Aries EDC on YouTube. And this is the pedal. And I was more than happy to pick this one up from him, and I really like it. Admittedly, I don't take it out with me. I don't take it out in the street or out camping or anything like that. But this is my desk knife, This is the knife that pretty much in all my videos is sitting off to the side. I mean, you can't see it, but it's sitting off to the side. I use this to cut tape and clamshells and stuff right here at the desk. And it's just got some sentimental value, man. Aries is, the guy over at Aries EDC is a super nice guy, and kind of had a stud there for a second. But it's just nice to use. I like the fact that he handmade it, and it was kind of like a build along series where everybody got to kind of vote on the colors and the shape and all that type of stuff. And it's just a cool one able to pick up from him. All right, now let's get into some miscellaneous stuff. Now I didn't pull out too much miscellaneous. I'll try to go through this stuff kind of fast. First one is the multi-tool. Still rocking the Leatherman Wave Plus. This was one of my first videos I did. I like the Wave Plus. I always think in my mind about picking up maybe the new Arc or, the Wave Alpha. But you know what? For how much I use this is great. The tool sets are good enough, plenty good enough for me. It's fine. Like I said, I got a work truck. It's full of tools. But this is just when I need it. I have it. And, been a big fan of this one. I do keep a little bit kit in there. Use those occasionally. Now, as far as pens go, when I'm out working, or even here at the house sometimes, like 90% of my pen usage is these little O-Pen minis. I have like the newer version. This is the older version, But I have these in all my pouches, and I keep this right here in the side of this. You know, I use these all the time. I have a couple look more expensive type knives, or sorry, pens, and I like these little Olight pens. So, you know, if you ever see them floating around on the website, I just pick them up. They're good to have, easy to use refills on them, you know, from Olight, and yeah, they work good. All right, next one is this quick little item is this Gerber pry brid. You know, nowadays pry bar, you know, not pry bars. Razor blade knives are coming more popularly. You got folders and all this type of stuff. All the brands are making them now. This old thing works good for me. You know, it's fairly slim, doesn't weigh too much, easy to get a good grip on it. I use this almost every day. You know, if I don't want to gum up my knife with a bunch of cardboard, I just use this thing. It's got a little pry bar here on the back, so sometimes I can save my knife if I use this instead. Yeah, I really like this. I've been using it for a couple years now. Leather notebook. I had this in my video last year. I still use this every single day. This is the Range leather notebook. As you can see, it still has a suntan mark for my business cards and some miscellaneous stuff. Sometimes I'll leave it on the dash in the work truck and it's kind of faded out on the top, but you know, it's not really cracking or anything. I do condition it sometimes. But if you like these little notebooks, you know, I just do like some math and stuff in them. That's nothing super crazy. And yeah, I mean, they work really good. So can't say enough good things about carrying one of these. Olight spheres, kind of a crazy item, but I really like these. You know, some people aren't, you know, that big of fans of them. Some people like them, but I have a lot of these things. I have them up here in the office, and you can use the app to group them all together and turn them all on, turn them all off at the same time, adjust the colors. So I got a group set up in the office. I got one set up in my living room, and I use them every day. You know, every day I turn these things on, so I like them. All right, kind of a quick one, Yeti lunchbox. You know, I do quite a few, well, not quite a few. I do a few videos on Yeti stuff. Yeti lunchbox. I just did a video on the new one, but this is the one I use pretty much for most of 2025. Now, you know, these things, people say they're kind of overpriced, they're expensive, you know, but here's my take on it. I like it. For some reason, if it's something I like, it's easier for me to use. And so I like it. It keeps my stuff cold, and it saved me so many times of going through drive-thrus or stopping at mom and pop burrito shops or whatever for lunch when I'm on the road. And for me, you know, this may cost, you know, this one I got as a gift, but the new one, you know, I got it on sale. It still cost me like, I don't know, $52 or something. That $52 is what I would have spent in 1 week at drive-thrus if I wouldn't have, you know, just purchased that and used it, you know, every day for lunch. So it's well worth it in my opinion. I think you can't go wrong with it. And the last wild card item I'll throw in here is this bad boy here, is this fan. You know, a company sent this into me this year. I didn't really know much, what to think about it. But honestly, this thing I've used so much, you know, since I've had this thing. In the summertime, it actually has a pretty good breeze for the size. You know, I use it a lot here in the office just to have, you know, a little bit of ambient air moving around. You know, I took this camping with me. I sleep in the back of my truck. You know, the old Toyota has a 6-foot bed and got a canopy. I cracked the windows on the canopy, had this thing running around nighttime. Moves the air good, kept it nice and cool in the summertime. It has a built-in light too if you want to use that, but the battery life lasts a long time. And I don't know, I just find myself using this way more than I anticipated. So, you know, big thanks to them for sending this out, because I didn't even know about these things until they sent it to me. So, yeah. But that's kind of some of my most commonly used gear for 2025. Now, you know, if you want, feel free to write in the comments what you use the most. If there's a specific knife or a pouch or a flashlight that you think about and you think, oh, you know, I probably use that one the most, you know, write in the comments. I'd love to hear which one it is. I'm doing this video kind of in collaboration also with Uncommon EDC. You know, I'm really excited to see what his most commonly used gear is, because that guy goes through a lot of cool stuff. He's got a lot of neat toys. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do. So also check him out and watch his video. But that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of 2025, and I hope you guys have a great year of 2026. And I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.